I will start recording today's class. And the reason as to why we record classes is because because of one reason or the other. Some people wanted to join the class, but they were not able to join. Maybe somebody has not paid fees. Maybe somebody has not been able to join a class because of a personal reason. Maybe because of the internet is disturbing and so on and so forth. And again, for authenticity purposes. So we record our classes, and these are the recordings that I'm telling you that you just go click on the recording that takes you to YouTube, and then after that, you can be able to be receiving updates. If I update anything there, if I put notes for public relation on any topic, your phone or your gadget will be able to notify you, and life will be good. Now, when you talk about strategy, allow me to share my screen. Allow me to share my screen so that we can see what we are learning today. I hope you can now see my screen. My screen is visible. Anatuwekea radio tafadhali. Switch off that radio. We also have our radios at home. And radio is everywhere, by the way. Na usipofanya hivyo mimi nakutoka out. We'll just kick you out. The next time we'll be joining this class will be next week. And you start cursing everybody, including yourself. So kindly switch off that microphone. Switch off that microphone so that we can start our class. Angoja switch off. I'm waiting for you to switch off that radio. Unajua usipo switch pia na wewe unatuonyesha vile wewe hauwezi ku switch off, and I'll show you what we do to such a person. Tutakutoa tu nje. So let's start our class. So when you talk about strategy or strategic public relations, what do we mean by saying strategic public relations? Now, when you talk about strategic public relations, everything requires strategy. Everything requires a strategy. Huyo mwenye anatuwekea radio tafadhali, so switch off that radio. And you know there is a way you can kick someone out and report him to you can report that person in Zoom, and that person will never ever join your class, iwe Monday iwe siku gani, hata wai join. So usinifikishe hapo, tusifikishane hapo. Switch off your microphone unless you have been appointed to speak. So let's talk about strategy or strategic purposes of what we call public relations. But before we start that, let's this particular chapter, it will investigate how the concept of strategy and strategic management can be applied in a PR context. So therefore, we start with defining the concept of strategy. And from our notes, we can see Kevin 1990 and Majira 1988, they analyzed a number of definitions of strategy, which are, number one, strategy is a means of establishing organization purpose. Strategy is a means of establishing organization purpose. Number two, strategy is defined as a competitive domain of the firm. So in other words, the central concern of strategy is defining the business, defining the firm, and When you talk about strategy, remember we said that a PR practitioner in our Mexican statement that this person is let me just repeat the definition. We said that PR is an art and a social science of analyzing trends, predicting their consequences, counseling organizational leaders, and then coming up with a planned program of action that will benefit the organization and its public. So you can see it's analyzing trend. Why are you analyzing trend? So that you can advise the management on the best route to take. And how are you going to advise the management on the best route to take? It's through coming up with the best strategy, coming up with the best possible way. That this possible way will not affect the organization and it will not affect the management negatively and even the public negatively. So in other words, we're saying that strategy is the way we do things. You don't do things just the way, just like that. You have to look for uh, the best possible way of coming up with a solution to a problem. Like for example, if employees, like last week, we were tackling a topic on crisis management or issues management. If you are tackling such a thing, which strategies are you going to use? When you're dealing with the media in case of a crisis, which strategy are you going to use to communicate to the media? If you are talking to the relevant public that affects the organization or interacts with an organization either directly or indirectly, which strategy will you use? If employees goes on strike and you want to bring them back in the organization, which strategy are you going to use? If, for example, the image of the organization is tarnished completely, which strategy will you use in order to put it back to normal? Remember, we said that an organization usually it can even take 100 years or even 50 years to build its image. But destroying such an image, it takes a second or even a microsecond to destroy the image of an organization. Say, for example, an organization like Nike, or maybe an organization uh, like Toyota. Toyota is an organization. It's an organization. It can take a single minute to destroy the good image that Toyota has, the whole world, and everybody will start doing what? Will start now. Will not like their products and services. They will start withdrawing from anything with anything or any products to do with Toyota Kenya, and so on and so forth. So therefore, that is a strategy to build an image mpaka ifikie kiwango that people can even track your products and services. It is a lot of effort which can be destroyed within a minute. So if it is destroyed within a minute or a second, as a public practitioner or public relations practitioner, how are you going to revive it back? How are you going to put it back? So therefore, strategies, we are told they define the competitive domain of the firm. They define the competitive domain of the firm. And in other words, we are saying the central concern of strategy is defining the business the firm is in or should be in. So whenever you have a strategy, you're able to define this organization is in the business of, maybe for example, service. Service is in the service industry and its purpose is to do ABCD. So strategy inakusaidia kujua when you're going out of the main purpose of the business. It helps you to stick into your lane as a business. That's why you find that sometimes organization, unapata ya kwamba an organization ilikuwa ina manufacture, say for example batteries, then inaenda kukufa, unapata tena wanaleta vitu vingine kama electronics, vitu kama hizo. No, that business is losing completely. So in other words, we are saying that the central concern of the strategy is defining the business the firm is in or should be in. These are the importance of strategy. Number 3, we are told, or number 2, we can say that strategy gives a response to the external opportunities and threats and internal strengths and weaknesses that affect the organization. For example, you are an organization you want to start a business. Like I happened to see, because I'm already in GTech University and I passed through the Eastern Bypass here at Kamaki. They have opened a very nice place, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Wamefungua hapo. Before they opened that place, they did a lot of research. They did not just open simply because they have a lot of money to open branches everywhere. They did a lot of research. They did a lot of research, and so they opened that particular place. And they know very well, if we open this business at this location, in this location, then we are going to have or to make a lot of profit. So in other words, there is somebody who advised them. There is somebody who told them there is a specific place that if you open that business, people are going to like it. The strategy gives a response to external opportunity. So with good strategy, you are able to focus on an opportunity. You are able even to know the threat. You are able even to know the threat that comes with the opportunity. And you're able even to do what? To see your internal strengths and weaknesses that can affect the organization in one way or the other. So in other words, we're saying with a good strategy, with a good public relations practitioner, he can be able to tell you the external opportunities that are out there. He can be able to even preempt any possible pitfall. He can be able to tell you these are your competitors. So you must be very careful. Or you can deal with your competitors by using a certain strategy and so on and so forth. Point number 4, strategy is a central vehicle. I think it's point number 3. Strategy is a central vehicle for achieving competitive advantage. What is competitive advantage? Competitive advantage is becoming, people prefer you compared to other companies. Like, why would you prefer Samsung products compared to LG products? It's because of the competitive advantage. People like you because of they prefer you comparing to other organizations. Why would you come to GTech University instead of going to another university? It's because of the competitive strategy or the competitive advantage. There is something extra. There is something quality that comes with a certain product from a certain company. So with a good strategy, you are able to achieve the competitive advantage. You are always a notch higher than other organizations and so on and so forth. Again, we are told that strategy engages all the hierarchical levels of the firm. Strategy engages all the hierarchical levels of the firm. That is corporate, business, and operational functions. In other words, we are saying, if this is, for example, a university, say it is a university, yeah? And you are achieving, you are adopting a certain strategy to achieve maybe a certain goal. Everybody must be aware of that strategy so that there is nobody who is deviating from the strategy. Tumesema ya kwamba our goal this year is ABCD. So we adopt a certain strategy. This is how we are going to do our things. Everybody must know the strategy. It must involve everybody. It must involve the top level management, the intermediate level management, the middle level management, and also the supervisory level management. Everybody is involved when it comes to a strategy, because for that achievement, for achievement to be made, then it requires what we call teamwork. Everybody must speak with one voice. So strategy engages all the hierarchical levels, starting from the top management to the lowest level of management. Actually, it involves all those levels of the organization. And lastly, we can say that strategy is a motivating force for the stakeholders who directly or indirectly receive the benefits or costs derived from the action of the firm. Imagine a firm or an organization, or imagine a university or a school that has got good strategies in dealing with issues. It has got good strategy when dealing with issues. Who benefits? It is the end user. If you go to a university, a very nice university, yeah, that has got good strategies in dealing with problems and dealing with so many issues, say education issues and so on and so forth. Then who benefits? It's the end user. So the beneficiary is the end user. So that's why we are saying that strategy is a motivating force for the stakeholders who directly or indirectly receive the benefits or cost derived from the action of the firm. So we have got very poor strategy, my friend. Who is suffering? It's the end user. If your organization does not value customers' feedback, they don't value. They have placed what we call suggestion boxes as strategic point, but those suggestion boxes are never opened. They never listen to the customers. You do things the way you want as an organization. Maybe because you are a monopoly. Yani wewe ni monopoly, like we have monopolies in this Kenya, and they behave the way they do. You go to their offices, they look at you. You can take a whole day. You were there the first person to be served, and it took you a whole day. Unatoka huko saa 11. Like for example, there was a time I went to clear. I don't want to say I went to clear my debt, and I knew very well I had the check. I went to clear my debt. I knew very well nikiamka mapema asubuhi nitakuwa nimemaliziwa hizo shughuli zote. Saa 11, saa moja nilikuwa town, and I was clearing my debt, so I started my processes. Little did I know that I would spend the whole day there, just clear. You have the check with the debt and so on and so forth. But I took a whole day clear. I was leaving the office when it was being closed. When they were closing for the day. So you can imagine, I would not even want any other time to do what? To engage myself with such an organization. Even if they are promising gold, or even if they are promising heaven, I would not even want to associate myself with such an organization, because when it comes to strategies, they are very poor. They are very poor. And the person who suffers is the stakeholder. So the person who suffers there is the stakeholder. So whatever you do as an organization, know that the person who suffers is the stakeholder, or is the customer, or maybe other publics that are around you. So whenever you're doing your own thing as a public relations practitioner, always do it to ensure that you achieve maximum satisfaction, or to ensure that the customer achieves maximum satisfaction from you. So then, therefore, we look at perspective of strategy. And then there's a question, perspective of strategy. Number one, we have linear strategy. And when you talk about linear strategy, this is an approach. And it strategize the planning aspect of strategy. So strategy is seen as a form of methodological or method directed sequentially, or sequential planning, which contributes to a rational decision-making process with the overall aim of being the achievement of pre-stated focus. So when you look at linear strategy, it's a view of strategy that embraces the purposeful dimension of strategy. So the linear model, however, is based on a number of assumptions. Just give me a minute. Like Thank you for your patience. Now, when you talk about the model, what we call the linear strategy of, no, the linear model of strategy, it's an approach. It's an approach that focuses on planning, such as such that goals. It's an approach that focuses on planning, such that goals and the means of achieving them are the result of strategic management. That those goals and the means of achieving those goals are the result of strategic management. So this model is inherent by, or in linear strategy, we can say leaders of the organization, they plan how they will deal with competitors to achieve their organizational goals. So in other words, when we talk about linear strategy, it's an approach that focuses on planning, such that goals and the means of achieving those goals are the result of strategic management. So if you have got good strategic managers, they help you, or PR managers, they help you to come up with a strategy. And in the process, when you focus on such goals that have been achieved through strategic management, I mean, in other words, you're saying that this approach focuses on planning such that goals and the means of achieving those goals are the result of good strategic management. So this model, you realize that leaders of the organization, they plan on how they are going to deal with competitors to achieve their organizational goals. For example, there are some organizations, even in the whole world, that deals with competitor in a very uncouth way. For example, I was reading, I was talking about, there was, I don't know that, there was two companies, I will not mention their names because of one reason or the other. These are beer companies. And then there is a beer that is coming from another company or from another company in another country. It is trying to penetrate in a new country, in a foreign country. So you find that this beer company, because this is a competitor coming in, this is an international competitor coming in, they hire what we call their roles and so on and so forth. So you buy the beer from the foreign country that is coming to Kenya, or that is coming to your country. You hire the beer and you hire it in large quantities, lorries and lorries and lorries, and then you go destroy it. That's a very poor way of dealing with competition. So we are talking about competition in a good way. In a good way. So in linear strategy, the leaders of the organization usually plan on how they will deal with competitors to achieve their goals. You can deal with your competitors the way you want, but make sure that you do it in a good way. That the organization, and here you're told, for linear strategy to work, there are some assumptions. For you to be able to deal with your competitor, then there are some assumptions that we are coming up with. But the organization needs to be structured in a formal way so that all the decisions made at the top can be implemented throughout the organization. Some decisions are made, like for example, you can get into some organization and everybody is making a decision. So you don't know which one to take seriously and which one not to take seriously because there are no good lines of communication. The structures are very poor. So we are saying that organizations need to be structured in a formal way so that all decisions are made at the top management and they are implemented from the top management throughout for you to do what? For you to know now this decision has come from one source. So it is also assumed, and that way you're going to deal with your competitors very well. Kama competitor amesema, we are going to change our corporate image, or we are going to change our corporate color, then that is the way. We are going to reduce our fees so that we can accommodate even the less, those people who are not able to afford the previous one. The voice is coming from the top management and it is trickling down to the lower level of management, and they are obeying it. Number two, it is assumed that for linear strategy to work, the organizations are operating in a relatively predictable environment. that you can easily predict the environment. You can easily predict the environment. You can easily predict what will happen to your competitors. Like, for example, let me give an example of COVID-19. COVID-19 came in 2019, towards the end of 2019. That's when we started hearing that people in China, they are dying of that particular disease called COVID-19. By, I think, March, April, COVID-19 was here with us. Around March, or towards the end of February, that is 2020, COVID-19 here with us. And so many businesses closed down. In other words, we are saying we were not able to predict that COVID-19 is coming. And so many schools, including universities, organizations, closed down because they were not prepared. So we could not do it. We could not predict such a thing. So in this linear strategy, for you to work well with the competitor or for you to defeat the competitor, it is a thing that you can predict the environment. You can predict what will happen tomorrow. And if this happens tomorrow, this is what you're going to do. You're also told for linear strategy to work, managers are assumed to act in a more or less rational manner. Rational simply means in the right way. Or we can actually say rational simply means, give me a minute, let's see the synonyms of this word. You are working in a normal way, or you are working in a balanced way, or in a coherent way. So managers are assumed to act in a less balanced way and have access to necessary information from which to base their decision. So you are working in a less balanced way, but you can be able to get information for you to base your argument or for you to base why you are taking a certain strategy. So the realities of these assumptions of linear strategies have been challenged about whether managers do, in fact, act in an entire rational manner in making a strategic decision. So that is what we call the linear strategy. And we have said that linear strategy mostly is a mean, it focuses on planning such that goals and the means of achieving them are the results of good strategic management. So, and we are also told that in this particular model, leaders of the organization plan how they will deal with the competitors to achieve their organizational goals. For you to achieve your organizational goals, how are you going to
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You are breaking.
What about now?
It's okay now.
Now, what we have said that this approach, I'm summarizing by saying or repeating again, that the linear strategy, we have said it focuses on planning such that goals and the means of achieving them are the result of strategic management. So this linear strategy, leaders of the organization, they plan on how they will deal with the competitors to achieve their organizational goals. And when you plan on how to deal with your competitor, don't use the uncouth or bad way. Use the right way. The number two, we have this other one called the adaptive strategy. The adaptive strategy. When you talk about the adaptive strategy, it is an approach that this approach corresponds to the notion of, it is concerned with the development of a viable match between the opportunity and the risk present in the external environment and the organization's capability and resources for exploiting these opportunities. So in adaptive strategy, the organization and its parts change proactively or reactively in order to be aligned with consumer preferences. So in other words, when you're talking about adaptive strategy, Mwangi Kabuyu, you have raised your hand. What is it? Kabuyu Mwangi, kuna swali? Oh,
I
yes,
can't hear you. You're breaking too.
Precious. Can you give us the right information? Can you hear me? Oh, I'm breaking.
You are breaking.
Let
You are breaking.
me try something else. What else is there?
Okay, because now it's even worse.
I'm okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, I'm still breaking. Someone hear me? Or I'm still breaking. You can hear me, you tell me, so that I know what to do. If you can't hear me, tell me you can't hear me. Pressure, can you hear? Am I still breaking? No, I'm looking for the right place. Pressure, can you hear me now?
Precious, can you hear me now? Can I be heard now? Can you hear me kindly? Let me know. Precious, unanisikia?
Yeah,
Thank you. Sorry for that.
I can hear you.
There was a problem with my earbuds. So I'm using now the microphone.
Yeah.
Not the microphone, but the, we call them the earphones. So we have said, we've talked about, allow me to share the screen. We've talked about adaptive strategy. Maybe I can repeat on adaptive strategy. And we have said that adaptive strategy is an approach that is concerned with the development of a viable match between opportunities and the risks present in the external environment and the organization's capabilities and the resources for exploiting these opportunities. So in what we call adaptive strategy, the organization and its parts change proactively or reactively in order to be aligned with the consumer's preferences. For example, you realize before you start a business, you need to do what is called a lot of research, because you might start a business and the people there don't come and buy your products. You also realize that there is what we call change of the environment. Things change in the environment. Things that maybe, for example, products and services that were so much in need like 5 years ago might be not be in need, maybe as we speak. So therefore, there is what we call adaptive strategies. As we move on, things are changing. Vitu zinaenda zikibadilika. Hata masomo unaona inaenda ikibadilika. So wewe kama a PR practitioner, you need to come up with strategies that helps you to adapt to the external environment, to the forces in the external environment, and things like politics, things like government, things like competitors, the environmental factors. You have to come up with strategies for you to thrive in the what we call the environment. So therefore, adaptive strategy, it emphasizes the importance of strategies as a means by which organization seeks to respond to the changing nature of the environment. So this idea of strategy as a means of matching an organization to its environment is a central theme of adaptive view of strategy. So in simple terms, the adaptive strategy is, it helps you as the PR manager or as the strategy makers of the organization to be able to adapt to the environment, because the needs are changing, customers' needs are changing, and so you have to change with the way things are going. Then there is what we call interpretative nature or interpretative strategy. And when you talk about interpretative strategy, like what we call adaptive strategy, this approach sees the organization and its environment as a clearly related. So this adaptive strategy, no, it is like an adaptive strategy. And in this interpretative strategy, they see the organization and its environment as clearly related. The organization and its environment as clearly related. But the emphasis is placed on the managers. The emphasis is usually placed on the managers. So in interpretative strategy, organizational representatives convey meaning that are intended to motivate stakeholder in a way that favors the organization. So in other words, we are focusing on the manager, the top management, because the top management, when we see the top management, the way they behave in an organization, then the other people, we are talking about the intermediate, the middle level, and the lower level of management. When they see how the management is, when they look at the management, the top management, how it is, they can interpret the kind of organization they are in. Like for example, when you get your first job, for you to know that you have been employed by a good organization, a very stable organization, apart from Googling and getting information from the internet, you look at the way the management, the top management is behaving. If there's a lot of hitches there, if there are a lot of gaps there, if they are not in terms with one another, then know that things are not good in this particular organization. So we try as much as possible to interpret. So the way the managers behave in an organization, it trickles down to what other staff are going to behave. So in other words, that's why it is called interpretative strategy. And it emphasizes the idea of strategy as a means by which organization seeks to manage their relationship with the environment. So from this perspective, the formulation of strategy will be determined to a large degree by the way in which organization culture, the individual values of the systems, or the individual value systems affect the management perception of the situation. So say for example, the top management, the people in the top management, unasikia maybe they are saying, this organization will not go far. And maybe you are in the lower level of management. What do you feel, or how do you feel? If them, they cannot have the vision, if them, they cannot be able to motivate the lower, the people in the lower level of the management, then why should you be there? Yani how our only vision? Kwa nini wewe ukuwe na vision na uko huko chini? So the management's perception of the situation, or the management perception of an issue, is very important. If you hear the management saying, we are going to win this case, these competitors, we will beat them, blue, black, and green. Ukisikia tu top management inasema hivyo, you get confidence, you gain confidence with them. But if you hear, hii tutashindwa, hii organization yetu na kesi, we have never even won one case. Something of the sort. It's like a team. Let's say, for example, Harambee Stars. They are going to play with what we call, maybe they are playing with Namibia, or they are playing with Tunisia. This is World Cup qualifiers, or something of the sort. I'm not so good in football, but this is AFCON, or maybe AFCON or World Cup qualifiers. Unajua tu, team, unasikia tu nani anaitwa nani coach, anasema, hey, hapa lazima tutagongwa kama 10. Ni coach anasema hivyo. He's the leader of the team. What do you expect of other people? Like mashabiki. Najua mashabiki ndio wanaumia. What do you expect of mashabiki wa hiyo team? Walishashindwa kitambo. Tulishashindangwa kitambo, hata hakuna haja mwende mcheze. Because the coach has already said, and he's the head of the team. The same case happens in an organization. If the top management don't see defeat, if they see that we cannot make it, if they look at a situation and they know very well, we are going to do what? We are going to fail on this. What do you expect of the people in the management that are in the lower level? That is what is called interpretative strategy. You look at the management and then you interpret. What are they saying about a certain situation? Then you interpret it either to be defeat or to be what we call victory. Then there is what we call integration of different approaches. You can integrate all those what we call approaches. We can integrate those approaches depending on the situation. Then apart from there, we have the levels of strategy. That is corporate strategy. This one I want you to read on your own. We have operational or functional strategy, and we call it a day. But before we call it a day, I want to say something relating to this particular class. Number one, just know that today's notes have already been opened. I've opened today's notes. You can open those notes and read on your own. So notes zimefunguliwa. And again, apart from opening the notes, I will deal with the register part, the last thing. There is also activities there. activity 3.1 is reading, read materials or read the notes that I've provided you with. And then apart from that, there is a discussion. So from a PR perspective, to what extent are levels of strategy mutually exclusive? To what extent are the levels of strategy mutually exclusive? Then post your discussion in the provided discussion forum. It's already opened. You can do that. And then there is quiz 3. Make sure that you do that quiz. And lastly, there is assignment 1. There is an assignment that I've given there, which is assignment 1. It opens today. It opens today. Let me check what time. I think it opens at 2 and it will close next week at 11. I mean, it will close next week. Next week will be 11. To close next week at 5. So uko na assignment 1. Kindly do that assignment. You have at least 1 week, 7 days to do that assignment, starting from today. So you can choose to do it tomorrow, to choose to do it within the time frame that you've been given. Then apart from that, I will give you the password for today's register so that you can take your own register. Also, there are those people who have not joined our WhatsApp group. Make sure that you join. Make sure that you join. So the password, I'm sharing it on the chat. Usianze kuniambia password ni gani sioni, uliza wengine. That is the password. It starts with JXK70M. So that is the password. So make sure that you take your own register and then we call it a day. For WhatsApp group, make sure, I don't know whether Precious and others can see the link, the WhatsApp group. You can share it with others. Kindly, if you can, share that link in this group so that those who have not joined the group to join. That's the only official group that I'll be able to communicate in, if at all there is an issue that I need to communicate. Kama kutakuwa na swala ambalo mimi ninataka kucommunicate, nitakuwa natumia hiyo WhatsApp group. Usifikiri nitakupigia simu, hiyo sahau, siwezi nikakupigia simu. Sababu hata namba yako sina. You can call me, but it cannot happen the other way around. So make sure that you share that link, Precious, if you can.
Okay.
Ya usiende kama unajua ya kwamba hauko kwa hiyo group. Wait until Precious shares the link for the WhatsApp group, then you can join. But if you had joined the group, you can leave the class and go and do the activities. If you had joined the group already, you can leave the class, go do the activities.
The link is being sent in a minute. Mnipe tu dakika moja. There is the direct link to the group.
Thank you, Precious. I can now ask the others to leave. If you had joined the WhatsApp group, it's okay that you get the activities, go and do the activities. Those who had not joined, join using the link that has been shared.